Hello, and thanks for joining us for this session of tax write-offs for healthcare professionals. I specifically want to talk to you a moment about something I had a chance to present recently at an advanced job fair in Pasadena. Now, most of you all in healthcare may be familiar with Advance. Advance sends out a publication about every 2 weeks for radiology, for respiratory, for nursing, for rehab, for so forth. And so in this presentation that I gave, I talked about numerous financial things, but I specifically want to focus on the write-offs for healthcare professionals, especially during tax season. Things like write-offs always come up, so I want to share this with you in this session. So that's what we'll talk about, but before I do that, let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Emil, that's E-M-I-L, Emil. A lot of times people think I'm saying email, but no, my name is not email, it's Emil. Now, on our website, let me give that a reference as well. You can visit us at www.taxhelpforhealthcarepros.com. Now, what we do here at EasyX Co. as a full financial service firm, our bread and butter is our tax service. So we do income tax, and we work with probably about 450 to 500 nurses and techs and therapists, a few doctors as well. But we also do investments and insurance. We have a separate department that takes care of that. And then we also do real estate and home loans. Now, most of the real estate and home loans, of course, that we do are in Los Angeles and the California area, Southern California specifically. So that's what we do here: taxes, insurance, investments, real estate, and home loans. Now, jumping into the brochure, this brochure is what I was mentioning in the beginning that we talked about at Advance. And I want to share this with you because it has some good pointers in here for healthcare professionals, nurses, techs, therapists, doctors, and so forth. I find this really helpful. And it looks like so, and when you download this, you'll see the specifics of what I'm looking at. And again, that's at www.taxhelpforhealthcarepros.com. The first column here are the supplies. Now, medical supplies are very common things you have to buy. You have to buy your stethoscope. You have to buy your blood pressure cuff. You have to buy a pulse oximeter, just to name a few things. Your medical bag, your fanny pack, and so forth, just to name a few things. And those will fall into medical supplies. Now, you also, for some people, had to purchase malpractice insurance. Should I purchase malpractice insurance or not? I just had a chance to write for Advance and answer that question, and there's no specific answer to that, unfortunately. But I would just always say you're better safe than sorry. It's never a bad idea to have malpractice insurance. Now, for some professions, it's going to be required, such as the nurse anesthetist, for instance. Or if you do home health, I recommend you have it. Or if you're an independent contractor or doing private duty, again, I recommend that you have it for sure. Now, if you work at a facility, a medical center or medical facility, it may be a good idea to have it. But if you don't, then it's not that big of a deal. But keep in mind, it's always better to have some protection than none at all. Another write-off that's very common are the cell phones. Nowadays, everyone has a cell phone, and the question is, can I write it off, and how much can I write it off? Well, you have to be careful as to how much you're writing off. Specifically, how much are you using your phone for work? How much are you using your phone for personal? And also, do you have one or two phones? If you ever get audited, that's something that they'll ask. How many phones do you have, and how many phones are you using for work? What's your work phone? What's your cell phone? So just be really cautious when you're claiming a cell phone deduction. The next column you'll see will be the uniforms column. Now, the uniforms are going to be the scrubs. Now, we all seen people on ER and Grey's Anatomy and all the other shows, and they have on lab coats and they have on their scrubs. And that's something you don't want to forget to take as a deduction, because if you're working 3-4 days a week, I'm sure you have several pair, and you may go through these if you're in the OR and get splatters on them. You may discard those and need to go purchase some new ones throughout the year, and that adds up. So don't forget to write off those uniforms, as well as the cleaning of the uniforms. That's something that you want to keep in mind that often gets overlooked. The laundry. So you go downstairs, you throw it in the wash, you throw it in the dry. Be sure to write off the laundry for those uniforms. Also, some people prefer to dry clean, which is a lot more expensive and adds up throughout the year, and you definitely can take that dry cleaning deduction. Continuing education is our fifth column, and in the continuing education column, every license pretty much in the healthcare field needs to be renewed every 2 years. Nurses, respiratory, radiology, physical therapy, and you pay that registration fee a lot of times for that seminar, that conference, keep in mind that that is a deduction, something that you can take on your taxes, and that's going to be for continuing education. I'll tie that into another column in just a moment. Auto and travel. Auto and travel is really big, but here's the catch to auto and travel. Auto and travel does not include your commuting mileage, unfortunately. It's not from my home to the hospital and back home. What we're going to take is a deduction from work. Now, once you get to the job, do you have to go out in the field? Now, this is a really big column, the auto and travel column. It's a really big column for my home health nurses, for my dialysis nurses, and sometimes for those that work in the field as independent consultants, wound care nurses that have to go to different facilities throughout the day and so forth. So keep that in mind. It's not the mileage from home to the job and back home. Now, next up is my favorite one. It's going to be travel out of town. So if you go to, let's say, Vegas or San Diego, New York, New Orleans for a conference or seminar to get those continuing education units, and that's the primary purpose of your visit. And keep in mind that that travel out of town is something that you can take as a deduction. Now, another thing for travel nurses, this travel out of town column can be really long and extensive. It doesn't come into just a few things because you all have meals, entertainment, incidentals, and a few other things that have come up along with the, the typical laundry and lodging, car rental, and so forth. Now, the key to claiming these deductions is making sure that they're not reimbursed by the employer, because a lot of times for travel nurses, they'll get reimbursed for their airfare, or they'll get reimbursed their mileage and gas for their travel. And that's something that you want to be mindful of, that you're not claiming a deduction for something that you've gotten reimbursed for. So, and again, that's a big column for travel nurses. This travel out of town, there's a couple caveats to that. Everybody's scenario is very different. There's not always a one-size-fits-all answer to that. So we should probably talk and have a one-on-one consultation for that particular area if you're a travel nurse specifically. Last but not least on the column are the professional dues and fees. Now, this professional dues and fees column is going to be something that some people overlook, but then some don't, because union dues can be 2% of your income. So let's just take a $100,000 a year income and the union's 2%. That's $2,000 of a deduction in just union dues. So don't overlook the union dues. Again, this brochure can be found at www.taxhelpforhealthcarepros.com. A very helpful piece that I'm sure you will enjoy. Well, that's going to be it. Thank you for tuning in for this session, Tax Tips for Healthcare Professionals. We'll be sure to post a few other things to help you with your taxes and your finances. Be sure again to visit our website, and that website is www.taxhelpforhealthcarepros.